For this video, we might actually manage to get this thing sorted out, but not after a whole bunch of ripping hair out. Right, John?
Yep.
And by ripping hair out, we mean you hung out on the other side of the garage while I went bald. You just had to have the bigger engine, didn't you? I mean, in seriousness, while we're sitting here looking at this thing and working with it and doing all the measurements, BILT HARD makes a 300cc, I think it's 301cc. It would have fit this and had a 1-inch output shaft a ton easier than this 420. Here's the deal. To get it high enough and move back far enough, this is what we see underneath where the deck needs to go. So I gotta do a bunch of measurements to start making a engine mounting platform that raises and moves it back. John's got to take the gas tank off. We're gonna have to do a custom intake, but that's okay because we were planning on running a vacuum choke on it anyway for the, vacuum choke for the startup. And we were planning on a custom exhaust anyway because outputting the exhaust directly into your gas tank, I mean, you know, you only live once, might as well do it right. Not really? Okay, fine. Everything extra is off of it and put off into a tote. One thing I wanted to point out here was that I did have to drill this out a little bit in order to put the 8mm through it. That reroutes it up to here. So this is your charge side going to your battery. This is your exciter here. You send this 12 volts, this goes off and does the starter. Coming out of right here where this grommet is, that's your charge. And the one right here that loops up under the starter and underneath there, that is your kill wire. So if you put a toggle switch that goes to ground, that acts as your kill. Anytime this touches ground, this thing will not run. Cue the bad 80s theme song music. Okay, so that fits right on. John decided to go and cut up the oil fill because it was hitting. And we're at the point now, we've got enough play that I can stick fingers underneath it. Once this is stretched out from its shipping, it should work out pretty close to good. It might be a tad bit tight, but we won't really know till we get it playing. We've got some sort of standoff to the housing right there that we might be able to grind a little bit more into if we have to. And the oil plug has another like 1/4 of an inch that we can play with. I think that gives us a starting point to build an engine cradle. Currently, the site supervisor is telling me that I'm dumb and I always forget to eat lunch. So Jethro's going to go eat his lunch and then she's going to make me my lunch. Because good woman.
I tried.
You do very well. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Jethro.
Bye-bye.
Okay. The nice part about having a lift is you can get into all kinds of places to weld easily. The bad part is that means you burn yourself in ways that you didn't before, but that's okay. So that's the original Kawasaki engine plate that ended up actually lining up just about perfect for the BILT HARD engine on there. The spacing is on purpose for the driver and the driven so that way I can set up the belt for where I want it. We're going to let this cool down, get it all bolted, and then go from there. Alright, before we all die of carbon dioxide, that should be reversed. That should be neutral. That should be forward. And if you take the top wire on the engine and you touch it to ground, we have offies. Let's get out of here. This is all filled with smoke. I've been monkeying with this off and on for almost like 45 minutes. I'm going to kill myself even with the doors open, so let's get out of here. If you give a John a $4,000 lift, he now has the superpower to lift vehicles with a magic push of a button.
With one finger.
With one finger, he raises all of them. On a serious note, we're getting close to test drive at this point. The exhaust previously did like an up and an over and a sideways and a gobbledygook here. What we're going to do is we're going to drop this gas tank out of here because we're planning on side tanking it anyway. And then probably just dump the exhaust straight out the side of this thing. You know, just like every 90s pickup truck that a teenager owns. John will probably do that too. Not sure whether I'll be proud or sad. But right now, he's trying to get to the last gas tank strap, and we'll get this thing popped out of here. John, if you end up with a 4-cylinder Ford Ranger, are you going to side pipe it?
That's not a bad idea.
Except for illegal in the state of Maine. Unless you exit behind the cab. I don't know why the extra 1 foot of exhaust matters, but in the state of Maine it does. On the other side of things, I came up with a lid for the intake that should just barely fit underneath here. We'll have to lift this down slowly when we start. And John's over here removing compost. I can't see past your HIPAA carburetor. Yeah, it's a good thing that was made out of aluminum, or it just plain wouldn't exist anymore. But we're about to go and drill a giant hole through it in order to port some exhaust out the side, so I don't know.
It smells.
It smells rank. Very rank. John's not a fan of learning proper hillbilly gasoline transfer techniques. Go for it. Now, a real hillbilly would be able to go and tell you exactly how old the gasoline is from the taste. How old do you think the gas is?
I don't know.
You don't know? Our first idea for a gas pedal, or rather my idea, because apparently that's my side of this thing, was to grab an old 71-inch Manco gas thing and to come through that firewall, underneath the seat, through there, and then attach it to the side of that, but then you would have had stuff in the way of where your heel goes on the floor. So John and I rethought it. Rather, I rethought it, and John said, "Yes, Dad, that sounds great. Go do it." And now, if John pushes down on the gas, on the end of the gas thing here, I welded a pin. I put the Manco through this pillar onto the end of the pin. So now it loops around, comes up here, goes into the side of the throttle, and now we can see that if John hits and holds the gas, we got full throttle, let off, and it returns. Out of all the open area underneath here, I managed to line it up perfectly with the only damn bar in the whole thing that I could hit. Wow! Waste not, want not. This is a punch out from a pulley that we found was the correct size for the shifter that's on there for gear selection. And this is a shifter plate that I had laser cut, that I actually made the shifter square 1 millimeter too big, so it's not usable. So John's going to slice the top off of this. He's going to slice this out, and we're going to weld that on the end of that in order to make our adjustable shifter linkage. John also went through the effort of stealing a kill tether off of one of our racing projects that we don't use anymore. And I have finalized the muffler. So we've got a exhaust flange off of a 21 horsepower Briggs and we've welded it to the stock muffler that came on this. We have a giant brace underneath it that we're going to strap it onto. This articulates, so we've got tons of room underneath here for it to articulate, and it's going to shoot out through the side. I do have a problem with wondering just how well this is going to work, because this is the exhaust tip that came off of that, and that's the size difference. Not sure if this is going to flow enough in order to run this engine, or it's just going to back pressure the snot out of it. I don't know. We'll see. This is future Neil telling you that foreshadowing Neil was exactly right. The exhaust ended up being way too small. Off camera, I ended up slicing it out and replacing it with the drop down out of a Briggs & Stratton 21 horse that was like a 1.25 inch diameter exhaust, and it ran perfectly fine after that. But unfortunately, my screw up in not trusting my instincts cost me and John about 5 hours worth of monkeying around that nothing would run right. Hey, you can't blame me for this being covered in sparks and crap if you do it too.
You're the one that had me set it up here.
The good news is we figured out we needed a size 22 idle jet from NR Racing. The bad news is I could cry right now because my entire sorted kit just got knocked over. Yeah. We then discovered that something is screwed up with the throttle return to the idle, and it would not idle down until we added a spring here. But then once we added a spring there, it was too strong for the return spring on that side, so we had to put a zip tie in it. And now it runs, but we need to be able to shift it. I don't have time today to figure out the rest of the shifting stuff. So if we grab that and we punch it, that's reverse, that's neutral, and that's forward. That is not the most professional way to do it, but I think we should get a test drive now. Let's see if we can film from John's perspective. Okay, go ahead. I don't think it likes the new belt, in all honesty. I think it liked the old belt better.
It does seem like it.
It's got a weird jitter that I think is either the belt warming in or something. But it's going pretty good. Alright, why don't you go down to the turnaround area and then I'll hit the shifter. I know that they make tune-in kits for those, and I think we need one to get it so that it kicks in at a higher idle. John, you should be in reverse. Go ahead. What did you do? Get it stuck again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
What dad figure keeps telling you to stay the hell off the emergency brake that doesn't work right?
was trying to hit him. He's not trying to hit the grass.
Yeah. There it goes. Okay, give it a little bit. Okay. Alright, let me shift it back. Neutral. Forward. Okay, try and bring it around. It's a work in progress. Can you please get up on the flat area so I can put the bed back down? Yeah, that's way slower. Gotta figure out something. Sure, hit every bump possible. Make sure that exhaust is gonna stay on. And now, we see if we can have a van eat a carryall. It's gonna be close. How close is that? The engine's under cover now. That's good. Go ahead and shut it down there. Well, that fit pretty good. We'll be able to tarp it off for winter. We've still got to finish the sides. We've got a bunch more to weld in over there. And the other problem is what John's demonstrating right now. It's just a little bit too thin to be able to get in there, other than maybe coming in through one of those holes for the wheels. But we're planning on putting some snowmobile pallet sides down through in order to seal it off for winter. So, I don't know. We'll see. There is just no right way to get us both into this shot. I have a ginormous fat head and I'm like 2 foot taller than John, so deal with me having a giant head taking up the screen. Sorry, guys. Alright, we're not really sure whether we're going to do a follow-up video on this. We will if you guys want to see it. But at the end of the day, we need to make a shifter and probably just put a push button up on the dash, which really isn't much of a video. But if you guys want us to, we can show you a video after it's done or in progress or something. This was originally a push-pull shifter system, but the bushing or something is just totally gone in the transmission. And so you literally have to ramrod it to get it to shift correctly. So I'm not really sure how to go about that. We bought a push-pull cable for a side-by-side, but I think it might actually not be strong enough. And then at that point, the next thing would be a bell crank system that just ramrods it literally with 3/8 rods and heim joints, which is, you know, I don't know. A bell crank and ramrods is not the professional way to do it, but it's probably what we're going to end up doing. If you guys want to see video on it, we can cover it, but that's literally the last two things to do on this. We've got a kill tether. Oh, we have to put a battery in and hook up a charge wire, making sure to use the rectifier that came in the starter switch assembly. Again, not really high-tech stuff, pretty straightforward. But if you guys want to see it in a video, we can do it. So, anyways, let us know if you want to go and see a follow-up on this. Otherwise than that, if we decide to tune the clutch, we'll bring you in for a video on that. And, yeah. Links in the description for everything we used. I'm babbling at 2 minutes and 8 seconds now. John, say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Save these poor people from your dad babbling, will you? Say bye-bye again, just one more time. Go bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
There we go.